Welcome back to Kidded. Guys, my name's Toffee. I'm joined by Porosaurus. We got another episode for you. And it's going to be a simple one tonight. I promise we're not going to keep you for a very long time. It's been a crazy week. I think for both of us, last week was crazy. No guest tonight, so if you're here for just the guests, my guest is Poro and me, and we're just going to talk. I think the theme tonight, Poro, is just the brutality of Tarkov, because I'm going to complain about where I'm at in my journey. I'm going to complain about how difficult things have gotten, and I think you'll probably complain a little bit about the motivation and the challenges that come with this game in general. But how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a shame that we don't get a guest here tonight. But that being said, if you're watching, if you're listening, and you feel like you've got something to contribute, and you wanna come in and jump in and bullshit with us for a few minutes next week, maybe make sure you reach out.
Yeah, we film it. We record at 9:30 Eastern. So if you PM, Swagger was like, morning? And I was like, no. Why?
Mornings here.
No, but we got some folks coming next week, or we should. We had a couple of people. I think a lot of sickness has been going around. It was in our house, and it was in your house last week.
Sick, didn't you?
I did. I got real sick. And then my kid last night got sick at 3 a.m., so that was even more fun. I guess that's this morning, technically. But that's just life. And I'm sure if you're listening, because Tarkov skews older. I don't know if you knew that, Poro. The fan base for Tarkov tends to be more mature, perhaps because we're willing to put up with shit, right? The boomers. We grew up with games like EverQuest and WoW, and even like, I joke about Mega Man. Remember Mega Man and how ridiculously hard it was to beat that game?
Oh, of course. I mean, I got a Nintendo. Like, my grandma got me a Nintendo when I was like 12.
It's a good grandma.
And my parents wouldn't let me have it.
No.
Like, they kept it in the attic. Like, I still have it to this day. Like, it's in my closet right now. The original NES, and it had all the stuff with it and everything. But my parents wouldn't let me play it. So like, and then we had the one family computer, and my mom at the time worked for American Airlines on their like in-flight magazine. So they paid for our internet.
Nice.
And so, I mean, we had like the shitty dial-up and everything, right? It was awful. But because, yeah, dude, no, but because they paid for the internet, my parents were like, we can't let you play online games or anything like that. Like, you can't do that. So like, I never got to play PC games when I was a kid, but my friend across the street was like one of those spoiled asshole kids. And so he had like the 64, he had the Atari, he had like the Genesis, not the Atari, the Genesis.
Yep.
And so I got to play like Streets of Rage and Altered Beast and like the Ninja Turtle games, and like we got some 64 games, so I got to play Smash, and like Bomberman was like one of my favorites. But yeah, no, I am familiar with that. I guess that's why I never really got into the grind games, like the MMO games, because none of those, like, I was a console kid, right? Like, I had to play on my friend's console, so I never.
By the time you got to it, they were all getting us shiny quest items.
Exactly. Like, I'm not. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say the old days.
I was just whining.
You spent hours wandering around looking for a freaking flower in these games. But that's the way that they were designed, and it was, I think my sister sent me, it was a couple years ago, she sent me a roll of, like, paper. It was just, like, a rolled-up notepad that was, like, this thick, and it was all of our save passwords from a game called Zombies Ate My Neighbors back in the day. And it was because in the old, like, it was so hard to advance a level, and then you had to write a little code so that you could keep track of your progress. I think that's why it appeals Tarkov, I think, to some players, because it has a bit of that old sadistic nature of what gaming once was, where they said, we hope you don't win. We'd prefer it if you felt like seeing the end game screen was an accomplishment. Whereas I'll be honest now, I loved beating Red Dead Redemption. There was never a question that I was going to beat Red Dead Redemption, right? Like, I feel like I buy games and you're going to beat them, Poro. There's no more like, will you get to the end game?
No, yeah. So, okay, we're talking about boomer stuff.
Let's do it.
Since we got nothing but time to kill, have you ever cheated in a game or used cheats?
I mean, I had game
not like hacking or anything like
right.
that. Like, not like that kind of stuff, but like, Grand Theft Auto doing like infinite God mode in Grand Theft Auto.
So does the Contra code count? The infinite lives, up, down, A, B, left, right,
absolutely.
select, start. That
Is
one
that
we
the
did
last time
because
you've done it?
what?
Is that the last time you did it?
I had a Game Genie in 6th grade that we used very lightly, but that was it. I have since then I won't mod. In fact,
In, like,
even
the
Valheim. You
book?
remember Valheim? David tried to get us to mod Valheim to make life easier, and I bitched about it the entire time because I was like, "This is
Dude, the
making my life too
modded
simple."
Valheim was like way better.
Yeah,
It
but
really
it was
is.
so easy. It was like you instantaneously moved to level 3. It was too much. Too much.
Oh, well, but I mean, I think you with stuff like that. I have no problem with doing quality of life stuff,
Mm.
right? So like being able to doing a mod so you could stack a chest on top of another chest on
Mm.
top of another chest like that. I don't have a problem with, or like increasing it from like 16 to 24 slots. Like
I
that's
get it.
not really ruining the overall gameplay experience
I
to
get
me.
it, but my philosophy is if the devs wanted me to do that, they would have put it in the game. Which is interesting you should bring that up because the devs here at Tarkov just banned a color filter from what I understand. I didn't use it because again, I
Mm.
am not that type of person who just I play what they give me. I also don't OC my like graphics cards and stuff. Like I'm just an idiot in that context. If everything is stock. But they banned sort of like remember back in the day, you and I played PUBG in the early stages when they were talking
Hmm.
about how you could get advantages by changing the coloration on your screen or brightening things.
Yeah.
And what I understand, this program made it too easy to see people. Do you buy into this idea that things that you can like say turn up your digital vibrance to get an advantage? Is that getting around something, or is that something you're like, hey man, this is
I
just
mean,
how it goes?
I with some of that stuff, man, I feel like it's more hype than
Mm.
anything. Like like you'll hear some like streamer be like, "Oh yeah," or some pros like, "Oh, I switched my digital vibrance to the dude." Drassel fucking changes his DPI like every 5 minutes. Like you're talking about trying to gain an advantage of something, but like it doesn't feel like a lot of times like these are advantages. It
Mm.
feels like it's just like the inherent ADHD of some of these guys to where like they have to try to change everything to try to like find some sort of advantage or something like that. It's the same thing that I was talking to you about before with the FOV,
Mm.
right? So like in Call of Duty, if you pull the FOV like way back, apparently when you uh, scoped it for a while there, when you scoped it, it all your recoil would basically go away.
I remember that.
Like the visual effect of the gun going up and down, since you were pulled so far back, it was so minimal that you wouldn't even notice it. And I think that's something that they were I think Hayes was talking about that
Mm.
as far as Tarkov goes. But like it's all these little stuff. Like I don't have a problem with trying to like finagle it and do all these little things to try to give yourself an advantage, because I feel like 90% of the time that shit just doesn't even work. Like it's just, you're really just kind of screwing yourself by like not just getting used to one particular way, right?
What do they call that thing you take when you don't make it into the actual group that gets the medicine? A placebo.
Placebo.
Yep. It does
Yeah,
feel like a placebo
exactly.
effect. Like, well, I have a champagne filter on, and that helps me see things. And you're like, does it though? But if it makes you feel play better, it's the same idea as like pros will say. You sit in the same spot, you wear the same headphones, you do everything exactly the same because if it makes you feel like you're doing better, that's important.
Exactly.
Uh,
Now, on the other hand of that coin,
okay.
there's bullshit like that Razer software that basically makes it so that you can have uh, like hardware hacks, right?
Mm,
And that's bullshit.
right.
Like that's just straight up bullshit. But like I don't even know if they've changed that. I know that was a big deal a while ago. Like Razer had this software for their peripherals that basically made it so that you could put a oh, what's the word?
Like build
Um,
macros in.
yeah, like it made it so that you could put the macros to where like you like it was you basically were hacking
Yeah.
essentially. It was like a straight up hardware hack. I don't know if that's changed, but like that is obviously like a lot of bullshit.
Yeah. Sell some mice though, and if you do it at
Oh well,
home,
sure, yeah.
we as long as you subscribed, we give you a pass. But if you haven't subscribed, you're a dirty, dirty, dirty
I'll
person.
give you a pass for using hardware hacks, but if you want to change your digital vibrance or some bullshit, like if you think that makes you see things better, look, man, I'm a boomer. I appreciate wanting to see things better because I can't see shit
Big true.
90% of the time.
Also, I watch movies on the other monitor because this one's got so much dig vibe. I'd have no desire to ever use it for anything except video games.
It's like whenever I was a kid and I accidentally pressed the brightness or saturation button on the TV, and like my dad comes home and we're watching a football game. He's like, "Why does the grass look like it's fucking nuclear?
Right?
Like, why is it so green? What did you do?"
I wish that was what I had
I'm
done.
sorry.
I turned on Spanish by accident, and then my family was just pissed for like a week while we tried to figure out how to make the whole TV go back to the way it was before. So that was a fun one from my childhood. Also, just to put in, I had a computer, so we go back to the boomer thing very briefly, and played a lot of those early games. But my mom was similar. All parents were at that stage. You get like an hour if you were lucky to play video games a day. But I would sneak back out at night to the computer and play EverQuest. And then my mother, remember the sound that those things used to make when they were on the internet? That hissing,
the
horrific
log on,
sound.
yeah.
She started sleeping with the phone. She moved it next to her bed so that she would hear when I started playing video games. So that killed my EverQuest career, to which I got to level 14. Which brings us back to levels and how the game is going. Tonight's theme, I think, is going to be frustration, because if you guys are like me, you're playing this wipe and you are maybe some seasoned veterans, and you're probably hitting the wall, the 30 to 40, maybe 45 hyper grind. Last week, you were finishing up Shoreline, and that sucked. And if you're still there, my heart goes out to you. I understand that getting headshots with shotguns is a nightmare, and I believe that you can do it. I know that I still have not. And it's been tough. So we're going to start, Poro. I want to hear what your struggles have been or what you've been able to do this week, and then I'm going to bitch and moan about the doldrums that is the level 40 grind.
Honestly, like I think my space right now is I've kind of gotten into my own head about playing online and like going to a live raid. Like I'm rolling through playing against the offline raids and killing scavs and have a great time. The maps have obviously made it like way fucking better. And I'm still kind of learning my way visually so that I don't feel like I always have to like look to my side. But now I've gotten to the point where I'm like I feel so comfortable like just running around and killing scavs and doing stuff that I'm like I know like I've built it up now to where like the second I go online, like I'm gonna take 3 steps and I'm just gonna get pumped like shot in the face. Like
you will.
I know, and like and that like I in my head I know that that's gonna be the thing that just like it's gonna be such a kick in the nuts that I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to recover, because like I've gotten myself convinced that I'm actually like that I'm okay enough at this game that I can handle myself in this game because I can kill scavs in online raids. Like I know it's stupid.
I mean,
it's completely
you're
stupid.
still better than some of the players that talk on the forums, being able to kill the scavs. So that's fine. And honestly, we played Dark and Darker together last week, and I can tell you
that game.
that Tarkov is not going to be as frustrating as that was. Who doesn't let you extract together? This is not a Dark and Darker podcast, but that is a problem. Okay,
look,
because these little shits take them first.
Look, we can focus on Tarkov while still branching out and talking about other things. Fucking Dark and Darker, bro. I was okay with that fucking game until one of those stupid fucking bat skulls flew right through me as I was going through a door, and then it hard locked me at the door to where I couldn't get out of there. So like, oh, I was so frustrated. But you know what the most irritating thing about Dark and Darker to me is, and it's probably something that's irritating to everybody who plays any game whenever they go and watch streamers play. Because I go and watch the streamers play and I'm loving it. Like I'm having a great time watching them play. Like they're having fun. They're dicking around. Like they're making it all look so easy. And then I get in there and I'm just like Bambi on ice. Like I'm completely lost. And it's so frustrating because like I want to enjoy the game so much, but then I go and I look at these streamers and I'm like, I'm not there. You got to get, I guess you get to that point where you've got to kind of like it's almost like it's like getting this. It's finding your self confidence enough to be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that I'm not a streamer. It's okay that I'm not like fantastic at this. Like, I'll just be good at the things that I'm good at, right? Like,
So you know what
and that's
helped?
okay.
I'll tell you what helped, because the streamers are the 1%. These fucking monsters from another planet who can jump into a fight. And then we'll go back to Tarkov on this specifically, because this is how it is in Tarkov.
Sure.
They go to dorms with, a Keter and a Dream and wipe out 6 people and walk out with millions in kit value. And you're like, well, I'm going to go do that. And then obviously it doesn't work. But that's because they're magical. What helped me, and maybe we'll make this kind of a theme of the show next month, is we'll look for streamers who fit this bill, is I just went farther down the list. And I started finding these streamers who had 8 to 20 viewers. And they played like me. And that was helpful because I learned from watching them, because they played normal, right? They weren't just running like hyper chads. They were making the slow plotting decisions. They were missing shots, which I think is important, because in Tarkov you miss a lot and you pay that price. And I think that that's something that I don't think we get enough of when people are starting out. So I encourage you guys at home to look for that. Maybe we'll look for some of those streamers this week, see if we can't get some of them on to sort of talk about their play style as they go through the grind. Because it's a grind right now, Poro, and I know that you're not leveling up at the moment because you're dealing with the gear fear and everything else that goes into it. But for those of us who are on the 7th wipe and continue to do this thing where Tarkov runs our life after every wipe, it's getting rough out there. Some of our viewers who are in chat said they're on the Scav Vest Balaclava grind right now. So if you guys are listening at home, you can go at Kitted Podcast is our Twitter and our socials. Let us know what grind you're on, because I'd love to talk a little bit more about it. What's been, up in your gasket this week? And I'm going to be honest, I've been trying all week, Poro, and I am not making headway. I'm at this point where the game wants me to go to reserve, the game wants me to go to street, and none of those quests feel like they have an end game to them. They have value in terms of some reward and some experience, but those maps have kind of been really challenging, and the quests aren't like making me want to go there. So instead, I'm in this like, well, I want to play Interchange or Customs or Shoreline or Woods, but I only have one quest there, and that quest is to shoot scavs in the head with a shotgun from 100 meters at night. Or, go out there and grind out these couple of things, which I think is important. You got to get to these quests in the game, right? They can't not have them. But it's really tough to get through that mid-game bottleneck. So I guess it's a chance where I can reach out to you as someone who's played a lot of games before. And I know that you've hit those mid-game bottlenecks. I know that you've struggled, to stay active in something when you're frustrated or you're like, God damn, we cannot win, right? We've been through some rough nights in the past. Is there any things that you use to bounce back when you're like, dude, I just don't want to, the login to grind is tough and I can't just log in to check my insurance anymore?
I mean, to be honest, like I just sit down and play another game for a while. Like honestly, like taking a break and to be honest, like it's not enough to do something like play another FPS. Like usually if I'm doing really shitty in an FPS, like if I'm just having a bad run, bad few nights or whatever, bad few games, like I'll go play something like an ARAM on League or something. Like I'll go play something that's like a completely different type and style of game, and then come back the next day, and usually it ends up being a little bit better. You just don't want to get yourself into that point where you hate it, because then you'll just put it down, you'll never go back. Like that's why I like Final Fantasy 14, man. I played the shit out of Final Fantasy 14 online whenever I first got it. Like that was my first ever MMO, really, and I played it all the time. And I played it. I grinded to the point where I was just tired of it. Like I just wasn't having fun anymore, and I put it down, and I have not picked it back up for like honestly, I got to look at this. Hold on. Because like when I say I was grinding it, like this was all straight too. So it was, let's see, 418.2 hours I did in like, a consecutive block.
Right.
It was the only thing I was playing. And then when I stopped, I haven't picked it back up again. I stopped playing March 16th, 2021. I have not touched it since then. And you just don't want to get to that with some of these games that you really enjoy, especially if you're putting money into it and all this time and stuff like that. So I don't know.
No,
It's
that's
just you just got to take a break.
I had 4.3 thousand hours in Dota, and then you just turned it off one day. It's funny because you never know when the last day you're gonna play it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
you logged off for the night, then never go back, and you're like, geez. So that's, and I want to prevent that from happening here, and that is a tough. I think with the Tarkov wipe cycle, that happens a lot at this stage, where we'll see a lot of our 30 to 40s hit this grind cycle, and you sort of get this idea of like, well, it was fun. Everybody's kind of leveling up now. I'm going to play the next wipe. I'll be back. And that's a cool thing about the wipe because everyone gets to come back and the homies that you haven't seen in 2 wipes come back and play. But I will encourage you guys, if you're at home and you're hitting that wall, there are a few things. The Sherpa Discord is great. The Reddit Discord is actually pretty interesting. And then there's a lot of people who post on looking for group over on a Reddit that are small Discords. And if you can find a small Discord with a couple of decent people, duos and trios, I think, is really the best key to getting through this mid-game grind because you have people who are living and dying with you. You're having a good time, and that kind of makes it a little less terrible. When you can, even when you die and you sit there and watch your friend finish the match, there's some decompression time there that helps a lot. So I think that's my big recommendation for those of us who are here with me on this high-end grind. I hit level 35 tonight before I went to work.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. 40 is kind of that cut point where people go to say to themselves, hey, I did it. I did it for this wipe. Like, I made it to the max vendoring, etc. I think it might be 42, actually. But that's the goal. I'm going to keep grinding that out and then see where we go from there. Eventually, we're going to get to things like tour guide, and I'm not sure that I have it in me to do that. I don't know. There's a quest at the end game where we have to survive every single map without dying in order to get the accomplishment. If you die, it resets the whole thing. So you have to run literally everything back to back, including labs. They keep adding, like, they added new maps, and those are in there too. So it's like Shooterborn Heaven. Shooterborn Heaven used to be, I used to hate it because it was hard when there was only like 4 of them to do, and now they keep adding them with every new map, and you're like, this is a nightmare. But that's what Nikita likes, giving us nightmares, so I accept that. All right, so I don't want to keep you guys too long tonight. Talk a little bit more. I've got a couple of recommendations for you at home if you're in the mid-tier, reminders of what you can take with you to make your game better. Poro, do you have any questions or thoughts regarding Tarkov, or maybe some goals for what you want to try to accomplish next week?
I mean, honestly, the goal is the same, right? It's to get a little, grow a pair, get out there, get in there, do an online one and get an extraction. But I'm gonna get there. I swear I am. And it's the thing is it's not even like fear of losing stuff for me. It's the fear of getting in there and just getting owned. And like I just don't want to get shit on. That's all. I don't want to go in there with like a kit and just get like murked by like this scav sniper or something that I just didn't even know that's where they spawn, and I just get completely wrecked and lose everything. And I was in there for like 2 minutes, and it doesn't matter all the offline stuff that I did, and like all that stuff just like completely flies out the window.
It's hard
like,
because
that's what's gonna happen to me. I already know.
We keep telling you it's gonna happen, and at worst case scenario, reset the account. It is what it is. But honestly, if you came on next week and were like, hey, man, I did 20 raids and I died in the first 2 minutes of all, I'm had to reset my account. Now, that's content. So,
that was me in Dark and Darker, so I guess it's not any different.
And honestly, it's everybody when they start. So our goal for Poro this week is to get in, take a couple of runs at it, see what the combat's like. Because really, the combat with scavs is a totally different ball game than when you start to see players and scavs moving around out there. But I do think the map knowledge is good. Most of the guys will say spend a couple of weeks or a little while learning the offline, so that at least you can identify, oh, that's how a scav moves. That's how a player scav moves, because there's a pretty big difference there.
Yeah.
I will also say, if you guys are at home, if you are at the end game tier, the suggestion is find some friends. You're going to need them. And if you're in the mid game or even early game where Poro is, tips to take with you, and I think everyone knows this, but I'm surprised at how many don't. Spend that money on headsets. Number one thing that you can buy besides something that will put ammunition down range is a headset. You need to hear to survive in this game. I don't care if it's GZSHs or whatever the abbreviation is. Comtacs, whatever. Get cans. You don't need a helmet. You need cans, and you need a gun, and that is it. I will go with without armor and helmets in order to afford cans, and that is the honest truth. And any veteran will tell you the same thing. So get those headsets. Spend the money on it. You won't regret that. All right, that's our big tip for starters this week. And then the second one is look at the ammo chart. Pay attention. All right, so normally I would say, what's your kit? What's your level? As I asked the streamers where they're at, I already said I'm at 35. My kit right now is we are pivoting very slowly to M4s because I can now have 5.56 ammo at all times, and I just have loved M4s since the first wipe. So very slowly we're moving over to that as we get into the Valde combinations and I can afford TAC 30s. I will say this is for everybody who's listening at home. Poro, this doesn't mean shit to you right now, but I finished my level 3 med center in the hideout. I got that Letty, 1.3 million down. I put that cash on. I paid the 500K extra to build it, and really it's just so I can get my intel center. So I will let you know, because the goal next week is intel to be done and dusted, and I can start working on the scav case. Also, Moonshine. If you can get Moonshine leveled up stat, it is bringing in crazy amounts of money. So if you can craft Moonshine, it's going for like $230 a pop because people are using it for the thick items box, and that price is going to drop.
Would you like a little, somewhat tangentially related? Would you like a little tit?
Yes.
A little today in Tarkov.
A little today in Tarkov.
Number 2 on your Escape from Tarkov Reddit today. Just bartered a blue card for 1 Moonshine AMA. Looked like a 68 pack. It was not a pack. Guy put 68 Moonshines for blue card each.
Wow.
And then there's another in there. I bought 8 GPUs for 330K last night for some poor guy. So I guess there may be a new thing. Another tip is once you get to the market, triple check your shit. Make sure that you're not doing something incredibly stupid like I would most likely be doing.
You think
here.
Typos are bad on Twitter? Take them to the Tarkov market. And I will say, everyone does it once. I got myself destroyed because I think it was ammunition. I put up like a 30 count of like 995 back when it was sellable, but I added an extra 0 to the listing price by accident. And if you overlist things to stop real money traders, they charge you a huge deposit. So like instead of me listing it for, let's say, 1,000 a piece, I listed the bullets for something in the ballpark of 100,000 a piece. And the deposit cost me, and I'm not kidding, because money was way easier to get back then, something in the ballpark of 3 million. Like I remember just instantaneously losing millions of rubles and then knowing that I wouldn't be able to sell those bullets because no one's going to pay that price. So then you just have to sit there and wait for it to get to return to you. And the depression of just like one button, maybe 2, because I think I double tapped it. But that mistake costing you weeks, if not like at that point months. But it was definitely days or weeks of work.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, number 5 on the Tarkov subreddit right now. I am missing 5 million rubles, and I found out why. I put a Yuntar body armor up on the flea market for $34,888.
And that's it. And I bet the deposit, because they thought he was a real money trader, was millions. And you just press that button, and poof, it's gone. Never coming back. Can't appeal it. That's on you. So when you do get to the flea market, be careful. 100% true. You had enough ammo, though. I did. Boy, did I. All right. So that is what's going on. There's not a lot happening in Tarkov right now. We know that they banned the LUT. We know that they're working on some fixes. The jury's still kind of out. Some of the invisible stuff has been fixed. Some is still out there. I will say, just because you get invisible doesn't mean that you're invincible. We have once, me and my buddy plays a lot, and we've one time had us have the bug, and we were literally sitting there discussing, oh my God, we're invisible. What do we like? Should we just leave? Do we do something about this? Do we like record it for posterity? I can't see you. And so we kind of laughed about it. And then 2 guys came walking over the hill. The first one didn't see him, definitely walked right on by. And then his friend saw him and killed him. It killed my guy. So it's not everybody. So just because you're invisible doesn't mean you're invincible. Be aware of that if you happen to pull that bug down. But they're working on it. The other thing I'm excited about, and I'm curious, if you think this will fix some of the mid-game problem, is I am excited about the deathmatch stuff, right? Like they said that in the next couple of months, we're going to potentially get some arenas or something of that ballpark. There's been hints about it. I'm really hoping it's soon. And I kind of feel like that might be what we need to sort of take care of this mid game, right? This idea of like from 30 to 50, sometimes you just don't want to grind levels. You know, you've got gear, you've got time, but you're tired of using shotguns to kill scavs or searching for a LEDX for 6 fucking hours in a row. If I could go to a deathmatch, I feel like that, to a certain extent, might give me the amoosh boosh or with a palate cleanser to get me back into raids. I don't know, Poro, do you think, like, from your experience in games, does that idea of having something fresh like that in the mid game maybe make a difference?
I mean, I think so. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, like we said, you know, if you're not enjoying the grind anymore, then that gives you an alternative to go do that, and also it gives all the Omega Chads that usually fill up the lobbies. It gives them something to do.
Yeah,
That so where like you don't have to worry about that so much as when you're out there grinding away. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a positive, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. And plus I want to watch the Omega Chads on streams fighting against each other. Like
it would be good because we did. Evasion did an event, and I think Pastilli did one too, where they sort of had arenas and they had a private server, so you could sort of, for the first time ever, see the Chads go to war. And it was a lot of fun to watch. You know, like triple headshots off the top ropes, and I mean, pretty crazy stuff. So I'm excited about when that comes. I do think that's going to help with the mid game. So I've been kind of on this grind, thinking, okay, that's my long game. I want to be here when that happens, and see it develop, and have guns in case we need to have our own weaponry and supply our own items for that deathmatch. So the stockpile has been accruing. But again, I'm going to encourage you not to save your best gear. Take it into the raid, because you're going to. What are you saving it for? If it's stuck in your inventory, it's stuck in your inventory. It may as well be lost in the game. You know, just put it out there. And maybe it saves your life once or twice because it'll absorb the extra bullets. And craft ammo in the light. Easy Snipes hanging out in our chat while we record this live, so I'm going to give him a shout-out. If you guys ever want to watch the live taping, we do it at 9:30 Eastern on Thursdays, and it's just watching us tape, and then we obviously release the podcast on Monday mornings. But craft ammo in the hideout, that's a huge one right now, especially BS for your 7.62s. 5561 is actually really cheap and reasonable. And if you aren't doing those, get ready for this one, capacitors, okay? The PSU you need to break down, and if you get it at a good price, is around $30K. Each of the capacitors, if you sell them at the evenings, are $14 to $18K a piece. So you can make a nice little turn off of 5 of those. So that's a nice little profit area for you. That's your economic showcase for the day. I don't have anything else to discuss. We are just past 30 minutes, so I think you guys are probably done with your cardio or getting to work or whatever it is that causes you to listen to us. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say, Poro, before we sign out for the night?
Yeah, don't skip leg day. But yeah, no, hopefully next week I'll have some fun things to talk about with going online. We'll see what happens. But thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll keep you updated. And again, if you've got a stream that you want to come and talk some Tarkov with us, let us know.
Absolutely. We want to hear from you. You can tweet at either of us, at Toffee's TV, at Porosaurus_NA. That's North America for all you yokels out there. You can also catch us at Kidded Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We have a website, and we are on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts now as well. Subscribe, follow, even if you're checking out the YouTube videos, any subscriptions help because we can get higher up on those rankings and keep making shows for you guys to enjoy. We hope you're having a good time. We know we are, and we'll be back next week with even more Tarkov talk, some special guests, some tips, tricks, and just general complaining because sometimes Tarkov sucks. And in a weird way, we love it because of that. We'll see you next week. And until we do, I don't have a closing comment. Bye.